5 minutes, folks. Yeah.
I think that so many people know you from all these comedic roles and everything that I think sometimes you get sold short as an actual really good actor. And one of the good examples of that is Star Trek 3, where I thought you made a great villain. And Captain Kirk may have, but I did not have enough of you. So I was wondering, no, this is a joke. But I was wondering if you could just share a little bit about the experience on Star Trek and being part of the Star Trek mythology and everything.
I'm sorry.
Talk about Star Trek 3.
How was working on Star Trek 3?
I loved it. I mean, it came out of nowhere. I don't know, because I hadn't done that much up to that point. I'd done Reverend Jim, but I don't know what else I'd done in film that had made any kind of mark. That, what's his name, the Spock.
Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy, I'm so sorry. Who directed it. I don't know, and the producers, what they had seen me do that made them think that I'd be a good Captain Krug, a good Klingon. But with all that costume and makeup and the whole thing, he didn't feel human anymore. He felt like, you know, some strange alien creature, and that helped the performance a lot. Just as with Judge Doom, that costume and those glasses and everything gave a whole feel to the character. I like stuff like that. You know, that gives me a physical feeling for the role, and then a lot of stuff falls into place when that happens. Costume is like, first thing I want to know really is, when I get a new job, what is the costume they have in mind, because that'll lead me to where I want to go.
Thank you.
Sir, I've been a fan of yours since Reverend Jim. It got me. Do you still have a little Reverend Jim in there? Can we hear a little bit of Reverend Jim?
Lloyd or something, I can't really.
No.
I'm gonna have to think about my brother for a while.
I think my favorite scene in that with Reverend Jim was when you were taking the driving test, and they kept going. Your character was asked the question, "What do you do at a yellow light?" And they'd say, "Slow down." And then you go, "What?"
You know, the funny thing about that, first of all, the taxi had a fabulous, aside from the cast, a fabulous cast, they had wonderful writers. But every once in a while, we'd be rehearsing Friday afternoon, a full dress, camera rehearsal, the whole thing, getting ready for a live audience that night. And sometimes it'd be something that some problem nobody could solve. The writers couldn't solve it, and we have to be released for dinner because the audience is going to be coming in pretty soon, but they got a problem. And that scene, they were trying to figure out a way to end the scene, the whole drive-in test sequence, and nobody could think of anything. And when that kind of situation developed, it didn't matter who came up with the answer. It didn't have to be the writers, it could be the lighting man up in the loft, the janitor. It didn't matter. It was like, help, somebody come up with an idea. And I don't remember who it was, but we tried different things, and they didn't work. And then somebody came up with that idea.
Now, performing in front of a live audience for the television show, I know I do some stage acting myself, but did it ever really just throw you off by like the way the crowd would react?
No.
Did you have to improv something, or?
No, I mean, I started out in the theater with a live audience for many years before I did any film. And having a live audience, I mean, it's a comedy, so you really want to hear the laughs, you know. And no, it gooses you, you know, it inspires you. So the live audience is great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello. In the original Back to the Future, before Michael J. Fox made the final decision to play Marty McFly, the role eventually came down to Eric Stoltz. Can you tell me what was your thoughts and your reactions to how Eric Stoltz was at playing as Marty McFly before Michael J. Fox came aboard?
I remember the night we were working during the night sequence when you first see the DeLorean and they're chased by the who? Yeah, I don't know. But that whole sequence it took 3 weeks at night, all night, and it was damp and misty and kind of drizzly, and we'd have our lunch like around 1 a.m. in the morning. We'd break for our lunch, and one night we all came back to work, and Spielberg was there, and the other suits and producers and all that, and Robert Zemeckis, or maybe it was Spielberg, got up to say that they were replacing Eric Stoltz, and it was a shock, because he didn't give a bad performance. He was very good, but he lacked a certain sense of comedy, a certain comic sense that they felt they had to have in the show, even though it was 6 weeks. It's unusual. Usually a change is made long before that. But they shot 6 weeks, and they finally, after watching the dailies, decided they had to make a change. And I think they were interested in Michael before they began shooting, but he was working on Family Ties, so he wasn't really available yet. So yeah, Eric Stoltz is a wonderful actor, and he was very good in it, but he didn't have that flair for comedy that Michael did, so they felt they had to have that, so they made that change.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How would you describe working with Hulk Hogan during Suburban Commando?
I loved it. Hulk Hogan, somebody was here yesterday or whatever who is a friend of his and said that he was sending his best, and I said, Terry, I think Terry is his real, his real name, and he was so kind of slightly wimpish compared to Hulk. But he's a really sweet guy, and as you know, I'm frozen in the film somehow, and he's carrying me on his shoulder, and I'm stiff like a plank. And working with somebody of that size and power and kind of a charisma that he has, but he's wonderful to work with. He's really a sweet man. I always wish I'd run into him sometime. And very timid, very modest. I went to him. He took me to one of his wrestling matches, and I saw how much wrestling is an act, even though these athletes take enormous risks, and their bodies become really beaten up after a while. It's a real thing. So, but to see Hulk, he was defeated in a match, and he just stood up on that stage and just wailed and cried to the audience, and he was, put all this incredible act. Interesting.
Also, what are your favorite voice acting roles? What are your favorite voice acting roles?
He wants to know what your favorite voice acting role has ever been, and this is the final question, unfortunately.
What's it straight for? Voice acting role?
Yes.
My favorite voice acting role, I'm not sure what you're saying. You mean in animation?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure. During the Back to the Future game was kind of a challenge. There's something I'm forgetting. I don't know. There's one guy left. Can we do another question?
Yeah, let's do one last question. Let the other guy behind you ask a question.
Thank you.
What was your favorite role as Iggy in Taxi?
What was?
Your favorite role as Reverend Jim in Taxi episode?
What was your favorite role in Taxi?
What'd you love about doing Taxi?
Your favorite episode?
Oh, my favorite episode. Well, the one where I say, what is a yellow light mean, is my first, I was on as a guest, doing a little cameo, and then maybe a couple of months later they asked me to be in the show, and that was my introduction as a regular. And I was pretty, well, I tell you, we broke for Christmas Vacation that first year, and I was still felt like a fish out of water. I'd been in the theater, and I really wasn't. And so when we broke for Christmas Vacation, they handed out the scripts for when we came back in January. And the script was that somehow I had a pet horse in my apartment, Gary. And the Gary dies, and he's in my bed with his feet up in the air. And I thought that was so not funny. And I sweated it all during the Christmas Vacation. I just didn't think it was funny. It was so, not gross, but it just was such a stretch of credibility. I just didn't see. And then I came back, and it was hilarious.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Christopher Lloyd.